Hello, I'm Didier Jean-Baptiste, the Dean of the Senior Class at St. Benedict's. Welcome to our fourth day of the Senior Award Ceremony for the Class of 2020. This event, traditionally a dinner held on the Thursday before graduation, has been moved to this virtual format this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the purpose and spirit of the ceremony remains the same. We are here to recognize each member of the Class of 2020 and to present a dozen or so awards to students who have excelled in leadership and academics and displayed exceptional character and spiritual development in their years at the Hive. Each senior will be spoken about by a faculty member. We honor those from maroon and blue section. We honored those from maroon and blue sections the previous days. And on the third day, we honored those from white. So we will resume today with the seniors in gray section. When all the seniors in a section have been recognized, the finalists, if any, from that section for the Presidential Award, St. Benedict's most prestigious award, will be announced. The winner of the Presidential Award, along with the other senior awards, will be announced at Friday's convocation. But before opening the event to our faculty speakers, I ask Father Edwin to start us off with a prayer.
Thank you, Didier. Let us pray. Oh Lord, we ask you tonight to grant us a peaceful heart, that those who come to know us may come to know the peace that comes only through you. We ask for a double portion of your spirit for those members of the class of 2020 who will leave us to go out to carry your peace to lives that they don't know yet and to places they may never have thought they would wind up. We ask you to give them courage, long-suffering, insight, right judgment, prudence, that they always may be a sign of love to those lives that they touch in their family, on their jobs, on their universities, and then in their future life. We ask you always to hold them close to you in the palm of your hands, near to your heart, that they may always feel your consolation. We make our prayer, as always, in the matchless name of Jesus the Lord. Let all in accord say amen.
Amen. Our first student from gray section is going to be Jonah, representing Father Cornelius. Mr. Duffy, you've got him.
Good evening. Jonah and I met back when he was a freshman. He found himself in my elective course, Ancient Rome, which had a number of older students in it, and he was a handful of freshmen that were in there. And actually, when he was in class, we referred to him as Captain Ahab, our little inside joke. And he held his own in class discussions. He had a strong personality, so I was impressed. And it was evident then that academics were important to him, and he showed that especially in recent semesters, as he was able to get himself on the honor roll. But as I sat and tried to think about where I've seen him as far as activities, I had a little bit of difficulty because I kept picturing him in different places. So I had to go back and check. I knew he did backpacking, and I knew he did music. But there were a ton of other things that he wound up going and trying while he was there. So it's great that he's been able to extend himself and go around and try different activities during his time. So we wish him well in his future. I know his plans were not exactly certain where he was continuing next year.
Our next student is Nick. Mr. Molina?
Nick hails from Australia and is a humble, smart, determined guy. We bonded over my work trip to Australia, where Mr. Duffy, me, and Miss Flynn got to meet his family, and his family took care of us for a few days. That was really nice. We also bonded over our love for crunchy bars and our agreement on how ridiculous Jimmy and Nolan could be in physics class. Nick was also a great basketball player for us, but arguably his best contribution to the school was when he suggested that he use his free block to coach the 7th and 8th grade girls basketball team. Athletic director Tom Leahy said, Nick showed a real talent for coaching. He was able to take his knowledge of the game and break it down to its most basic form for his team. and the team's improvement was evident after he started coaching. I hope when he is done playing, he would consider coming back to join our staff. I was able to watch Nick coach one practice. It was incredible how good he was, and completely obvious how much he loved doing it. And there's no doubt that Nick also loved it when we called into convocation with his family to sing him happy birthday all the way from Australia. Nick, wherever you end up, you're going to be incredibly successful. Keep working hard and keep taking care of others when you can. I'm so happy that I got to teach you and that we were able to spend the time we had together. I look forward to seeing each other in Australia one day.
Thanks, Mr. Molina. Mr. Duffy, we're coming back to you for Christian.
Christian, I had the pleasure of working with you when you were in the 8th grade, shortly after you arrived at St. Benedict's. And throughout your entire career, I know academics has not always been your strength, and you've had to put in a lot of work. But you continued, you persevered, you struggled, and you fought your way through. What I want you to remember is that academics is not all you are. Right? There's a great young man there who has a lot to offer. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, so to speak, and extend yourself a little bit as it gets uncomfortable. And do that as you move forward. And I know you'll be successful in college. Good luck.
Our next student is Aaron. Mr. Adubato, a few words about Aaron, please.
Students often tell me that I speak with a monotone, but the only one who could convince me to vary my tone of voice was Aaron, who consistently would ask me at the end of every class, "Why do you always speak with a monotone?" To which I'd always respond, "Why do you insist on asking me the same question every single day?" But somehow his persistence worked. In addition to being indebted to him for this, I always knew I could rely on him and the rest of the booth crew to take care of the Gravy Ministry's needs in the auditorium during days of reflection, especially when there were last-minute changes and I would have to try to get his attention in the booth all the way from the front of the auditorium. More than anything, I appreciated how much Aaron took the existential questions we asked in class to heart. He demonstrated a willingness to explore the complexities of these questions without settling for partial answers. I was most amazed by his written reflections in alternative track senior religion. Reading Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus generated a lot of rousing discussions in class, but Aaron kept the discussion going with me well after the end of the semester. And with that, Aaron, I encourage you to continue thinking deeply about life's complexity as well as its beauty, and that you are able to share your explorations with the others that you meet along the way. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato. Next up is Almond. Mr. Cassidy, he's yours.
Thank you. Amen. Well, let me say something to everybody else, first of all. If you listen really carefully at just the right moment, you might hear Amen say something. Most people probably haven't heard Amen say very much at all over his time at Benedict's. He comes across as very quiet and unassuming, and that's at least the impression that a lot of us have. However, I've talked to a bunch of the swimmers and water polo players who tell me that life in the locker room and in the pool and around the team is much, much different, and you're actually a rather talkative person. I haven't experienced that as much. I'm a very talented athlete in water polo and swimming. I will tell you that Mr. Vespol used to get extremely frustrated with you because you seem to always make the same mistakes in water polo, and he'd turn to me every now and then. He'd say, "I don't know what to do with Amen. He's so talented and he keeps doing the same thing." And yet everybody on the team knew that they could count on you. I remember vividly the smile and the radiance on your face freshman year when you and your parents had the opportunity to meet then President Obama, and what a meaningful moment that was for you and for your family. And that's always stuck with me. I know that you haven't always been the strongest student, but you have worked really hard to get where you are and to maintain such a high average all throughout, and it's paid off. Never lose that drive. Never lose that fight. I wish you all the best at Morehouse next year.
Thank you. Father Ed, you've got the next student, David.
Thanks, Didier. David has been here with us since seventh grade. He was a leader even as a seventh grader, always enthusiastic about things that went on here at school, and grew in that leadership ability as he grew older here. He was a great leader this year of his group, and always was not only able to keep track of the guys in his group, be helpful to his guys in his group, but wasn't afraid to stand up to me and to make his positions known on things. I used to work out with him on and off in the box when he would train there in the summers, and that was always fun to be able to be with him. In fact, his dad used to come as well in the summers and train with us. So it's been fun watching him grow up, because now he's a young man. When he came to us, he was not only very young, but he was also very tiny. And it's amazing to have watched how he's grown in the time that he's been here, both physically, emotionally, spiritually. And it's been an honor to accompany you, David, through these 6 years. I'm proud of you, and I look forward to watching you continue to grow as you continue your schooling at St. Vincent College, is what I understand. So good luck. Pray for us, and we'll hold you in our hearts here, guaranteed. Thanks for everything, Dave.
Thanks, Father Ed. Our next student is Nathaniel. Mr. Adubato, can you say something about Nathaniel?
Those of you who know Nate know that among his main passions in life are music, his faith, and La Patria, Boricua, also known as Puerto Rico. Nate is never shy about telling people how proud he is of being Puerto Rican. He would always remind me how much he couldn't wait for the next chance he could visit the island in his journal entries, which he insisted on writing in Spanish. But what I also discovered through reading his heartfelt and sincere journal entries was his deep appreciation for getting to sing in his family's church community. Nate finds true fulfillment in the beauty of music and in praising God together with others. Nate, all of these passions are gifts that have been given to you to share with others. And as you move on from Benedict's, I encourage you to work hard to further develop that love of music and to take the risk of going deeper in your faith and entrusting everything to God. Estoy muy agradecido por tu presencia en mi clase y que el Señor bendiga tus esfuerzos en el futuro. Y sigue siendo orgulloso de ser boricua, para que todos lo sepan.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato. Mr. Molina, one of your fencers, Nolan.
Nolan, AKA the biggest pain and the you-know-what I've ever had the pleasure of working with at Benedict's. This year, Nolan made the cadet national team for men's saber. I'm so proud of you for your accomplishment. I still remember when you came to us as an 8th grader and were already as good as some of our varsity fencers at the time. We all knew from the beginning that you had the potential to be a great fencer, but that didn't stop me from throwing you off the team towards the end of that first season after one of your little temper tantrums while the team was running stairs. We have had countless arguments, and I'm pretty sure you've had to listen to me lecture more than any other human on this planet. But I hope that you understand why I cared so much about you and your success. Nolan, you know that I believe you can go all the way in the fencing world. I think you started to believe it yourself at the end of last year. But that's not all you've got. You're incredibly sharp and a natural leader and a natural teacher. You have so much potential to do so many things. Not so many people are quite as gifted as you are, but natural talent and gifts only get you so far. To be great, you have to work harder than everyone else. So as you go on to Ohio State University, I hope that you continue to work hard and continue to believe in yourself. Know that I'm always available if you need another lecture, and that I expect to see you at the next Thanksgiving Day practice. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll miss you. Good luck.
Thanks, Mr. Molina. Mr. Rodriguez, one of your 520 guys, Sergio.
Sergio, your heart is vastly unproportional to your stature. You might be one of the shortest students in your class, but your heart is bigger than two of our biggest seniors combined. Sergio, I had to do this to you one last time before you graduated, as I spent well over a year trying not to call you by your brother's name. As I started to say, I first came across you when you applied for a job with 520 in order to help your mom with bills and expenses. Working with you, I came to learn how passionate you are. At times, his strong personality and passion might be a bit conflicting or confrontational. But if one needs a hand or shoulder to lean on, you are the one that will be there unconditionally through thick and thin. You are kind, thoughtful, passionate, and caring. Sometimes this passion might get the best of you. But as you learn to control this passion and drive, you will use it as a tool for success and do what you have done to so many of us, love you for who you are. Anytime any faculty member or the school needed an extra hand from 520, you were always the first to sign up. You will be missed, especially in the 520 room, as our Iberian Peninsula Coalition in our little corner comes to an end. I will truly miss you, Sergio. Best of luck.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez. Next, Caesar, second guy from Father Eugene. Mr. Duffy, he's yours.
Cesar joined us in the lower division and was just a quiet guy over those 2 years. In fact, most people will remember him for any time there was any type of gathering for the lower division. He and his parents provided the pizza because they had a pizzeria. But what I've seen then and throughout high school is that you're one of those glue guys in the class, right? You just hold everybody together. You're there through thick and thin. And that was evident, whether it was in class, whether it was in recess, whether it was back in the pizzeria, out on the Appalachian Trail, where I watched you almost single-handedly get your team through the trail. I don't know if you could possibly carry anything else on your back that week. And, but maybe not most importantly, most publicly at school was on the wrestling team. You took everything you had and put it out there every time you wrestled. So I want to thank you for all of your accomplishments, some of which may have been missed over the years because you just kind of hung back there quietly, and wish you good luck at Caldwell next year.
Thanks, Mr. Duffy. Adonai, Mr. Cassidy, Dr. Cassidy.
Adonai, we started this broadcast only a few minutes ago, so it's unlikely that Adonai is with us just yet. Most mornings convocation, Father Eugene, Gordon, most mornings. Yeah, we need to work on that a little bit. You are a very talented guy, but that history of lateness doesn't work very well for you. I got to know you through a group, and it's been an exciting time getting to know you, getting to understand more about your deep values and your ability to think very deeply and critically about things. You stood out to me from the beginning because of your awareness of current events, political actions, things of that nature, your willingness to share your thoughts and opinions, and most importantly, your courage and willingness to participate in spiritual reading every Monday in group. You were one of the leaders of that, and one of the ones who was never afraid to ask questions or to put your own thoughts into it. Don't ever lose sight of your own values, and don't ever be afraid to share those. Keep that good nature that you have. Keep that leadership skill that you have. And I'm so glad that you found your way to us, even if you didn't make it here on time. And wish you all the best next year at Rutgers Newark.
Thanks, Dr. Cassidy. Our next student is James, Mr. Adubato.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of James is his corny smile. Either that or his quick, sarcastic comebacks and wise guy commentary on basically everything that I say. I envy his ability to think on his feet like that and have a response to pretty much everything. This is why I made it my mission in senior religion to crack through his wise guy thing, because I knew that he had this breaking point that I could get him to say something really deep and profound. Every time I got him to break out of his sarcasm and into that other mode, I considered it a success. But in honesty, James, don't forget that you do have a real interior depth, that you have a lot of sincere questions about life, and I don't want you to lose them. I'll miss hearing both your commentary and your deep thoughts in group and in class, but I look forward to seeing what's to come for you in the future. Best of luck, James.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato, but I'm coming right back to you and asking you to talk about Jeremy.
I've had the pleasure of being Jeremy's group moderator during his time at Benedict's. I could always count on him and his crew that would sit in the corner, usually Frank and Rico, to start making some weird noise or say something outlandish, making me have to turn around and shut them up. Jeremy would always reassure me that he would get his crew to chill, only for me to have to turn around again 5 minutes later. I was surprised to see that Jeremy was very different when he was in class. I appreciated how attentive he was and his important contributions to our discussions. As you move on next year, Jeremy, I think it's important that you maintain your focus. Your performance in class has shown me that when you're determined, you're capable of pushing yourself to succeed. And don't forget to have some fun too. Best of luck to you next year.
All right, Mr. Adubato. Dr. Cassidy, Robbie.
Robbie, not sure if you're actually talking to me these days. This year has been kind of up and down with sometimes you're willing to talk to me and other times you avoid me for reasons I don't fully understand. I want you to know that I have greatly appreciated our relationship over the years. You have been a tremendous help to me in backpacking at times. At other times, you can get distracted, and especially when you and Logie would just start turning into practical jokers and forget that you actually had certain jobs that you had to take care of. But nevertheless, when you were on, and you were extremely helpful through those times. You were a leader and the anchor of the baseball team, and I am so sorry that you guys didn't get to have your last season. I know you were so looking forward to that, but there will be other opportunities for you to stand out as you move forward. I hope that the struggles that you've had this year and that the struggles that you've had personally, you're able to work through and that you continue to work through them. Know that even when you're angry with me, I am always here for you, and I wish you all the best as you move on to Felician University next year.
Thanks, Dr. Cassidy. Mr. Adubato, I know you're going to enjoy speaking about Ruel.
Wagwan, Wayase, mi brethren Roel, one love. I know Ruel is going to kill me for attempting to speak in Jamaican patois, but she told me that I'd never figure out how to do correctly. I guess he was right. Ruel is another one who finds joy in making fun of me. Most students I'm close to connect with me on one of two levels. Either we both like talking about existential, philosophical, or Jesus-y questions, or we have a similar taste in music. Ruel is one of those rare few who I connect to on both levels. I was first struck by how seriously he took the topics we covered in world religions class when he was a transfer. But then I was even more surprised to find out this little transfer, whose accent I barely understood, knew early 2000s R&B better than I did. And the rest was history. What can I say, Ruel? Teaching you in all 5 of my classes, working with you in group and in Gravy Ministry, have made me want to rip out my hair at times. But I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to think about what happened last summer when you worked community service at Miss Molina's senior daycare. Your experience there brought a side out of you that no amount of reprimands, speeches, or guilt trips were ever able to do. And Lord knows I tried all those things. Look at what happens when you open yourself to responding to the call to love. I want you to remember this as you decide what you're going to do with your future. You can never go wrong when you're open to responding to that call. Best of luck, Ruel.
Thanks, Mr. Adubato. As we transition over to Father Philip, my group, I will take on our first guy, who is Tunji. Tunji, you're a man of many talents and blessings. You're a great writer. You have the social skills to land an interview with the governor of New Jersey. And you picked up track relatively late in high school, but were an important contributor contributor to our nationally ranked relay teams. And you have tremendously caring and involved parents. Your challenge is to embrace your talents and your blessings, particularly your academic talents, rather than being overwhelmed by them. Don't be afraid of going after greatness. You have it within you to achieve it. And what matters more anyway is the process that you take in getting there. You'll be admired as much for the work that you put in as for the end result. You know that from track PRs. Your team is always proud of you no matter where you finish, as long as throughout the race, you, from the start gun all the way till the finish line, you're giving it your all. When you graduate from college, you're going to want to instill that same attitude in the teachers, in the students that you have in your English classes. So take time in college to fully develop that attitude, not just on the track as you run at Dominican, but also in the classroom. So again, I hope that when you leave here, you put your best foot forward in everything you do from the start all the way to the end. All the best to you, Tunji. Our next guy is Corey. Mr. White.
Corey, you are hands down one of the most steadfast students I have ever had the pleasure of teaching and coaching. The example that you and Sean managed to bring to the table on a daily basis is the best leadership our team has ever had. Hands down. Your focus is incredible, especially when you submit yourself to structure. I remember often your first year, you were really worried about having the capacity to be on honor roll. And this year you earned more A's your senior year, your hardest year, than you ever did as a student at St. Benedict's Prep. Don't forget that, the fact that you thrive when things are hard. Not a lot of people have the capacities to do that. Most individuals, when they're put in an uncomfortable situation, as you guys like to say, they fold. But you don't. You never have. And I don't anticipate that you ever will. I'm glad that you decided to listen to Mom and take her advice, because you know yourself as well. You're very humble, and you know that you needed structure. You knew you needed it. And I'm confident that when you go to VMI, the Virginia Military Institute next year, you're going to rise your way up the ranks very quickly and move to represent St. Benedict's in a fantastic way. I know Miss Stafford's not here, but I'm sure we can say it together that we love you. We love you very much, and do as best as you can next year in your new career.
Thank you. Father Edwin, you've got the next student, Anthony.
Well, we could be here all night and all day tomorrow and days in the next week talking about Anthony. Ant was the freshman leader this year. I could talk about him in previous years as well, and I may do a little bit about that. But he was the freshman leader. He had a huge voice in the entire school. Was actually absolutely fearless in dealing with difficult situations and in dealing with me. Didn't think twice about taking the microphone away from me when he thought I had talked too long. Didn't think twice when we was going to school virtually of trying to do what he could to mute my microphone. And was a very, very, very hard worker for the sake of the entire student body in collaboration with the adults. I'm super proud of him. He's noted because he was an outstanding wrestler for us, and guys would come off the mat when practicing with him and say, "You can't move when he grabs you." His strength is superhuman in one sense, and his strength is not only a physical strength, but he's got a strength of character that gives everybody around him a sense of confidence, and it did that with me. I've been around a lot of leaders in school here over 48 years. And Anthony is certainly one of the more outstanding ones, and the strength of his beliefs the strength of his convictions, his physical strength, and his great leadership this year in a difficult situation. He had to step up at times and do things that it wasn't planned that he would have to do, and he did it gracefully and never upstaged anybody. So I'm really super proud of him and grateful to have had him with us this year as a leader. And we'll have to go hard to surpass his leadership ability with the freshmen this year. Whoever has that role next year is going to have his hands full in trying to match Anthony. So, Ant, thanks for everything you've done. Thanks for your contribution on the wrestling team. But most importantly, thanks for your contributions to the freshman class this year and your contribution as a leader. And I'm proud of you, and I respect the heck out of you, pal. Thanks. Good luck.
Thanks, Father Ed. Our next student is George A. Mr. Duffy.
George A. It is my pleasure to speak of George A. this evening. Each school year begins with a new group of transfer students, and this year George A. arrived from Serbia and wanted to participate in basketball. Now, here's where I should probably mention that when he arrived, he basically spoke no English. So I didn't have too much contact with him in the first semester, but the second semester in the winter, he arrives in my medieval history class in January, where I'm shocked how somebody who arrived only a few months before with very little English was able to participate. And not just participate, George A., you brought a very different perspective to the class. Americans are typically look at medieval history like it happened on another planet because it was so long ago and there's nothing in this country that old, at least nothing necessarily built by man. And you are able to tell us about your town and the building down the street that was from the Middle Ages, and it used to be a fort, and it was fantastic. One of the silver linings for this quarantine was George A. was back home, so one day he held the computer up so the camera went outside, and we took our virtual field trip to Serbia. So I know you're still trying to figure out what your next step is, especially with everything that's happened recently. So good luck figuring that out. Please stay in touch and let me know what's going on.
Thanks, Mr. Duffy. We're going to stay with you and ask you to say a few words about Preston.
I am very excited to speak about Preston. This has been a long time coming. Preston is one of only 2 students left in the school that I drafted into Father Philip Hoover before I shifted around and took over the middle division. So Preston, when you say Preston's name, the first thing that comes to mind is soccer. It has always been an important part of his life. It continues to be an important part of his life. He was a huge asset to the St. Benedict soccer program, and it was a pleasure to watch him playing games. Now we can shift gears to the fun stuff. Academically, I knew when an eval went out because Preston, your mother, would contact me immediately because somewhere along the way, you fell asleep, you stopped working, you this, you that, and she called me to circle back and give you another pep talk. And the exciting part about it is that Preston ends his senior year. He was in my class. It was the first time I actually had him in class all these years. And he had a fantastic year in my class and outside of my class. He had his best year academically. He has matured greatly. And I wish you all the best as you continue next year at Robert Morris.
Thanks, Mr. Duffy. I will take the next student, June. June, you are the self-declared papa of all the present and future South Korean students at St. Benedict's. And indeed, you've been a great papa, coming here from literally the other side of the world to join a very foreign community. You've been the perfect ambassador. The school has embraced you because you have been open to everyone, always willing to laugh at yourself and with others. You've created a good experience for yourself, which then allowed you to convince other guys from South Korea to make the journey over here. You've been a great academic role model for everyone in Father Philip and in Leahy House, often using what other students would call free time to study. And that's been reflected in your grades. You came here speaking very little English, and you've made the honor roll since the second semester you've been at St. Benedict's. And you've also scored the most spectacular goal I've ever seen from midfield, even though you confessed to me that it was supposed to be a pass. But keep working hard, June. Right now, you're in the other team's penalty box with the ball on your foot and with a clear sight of your college goal. Just a few more dribbles, and you'll score. I and your other teammates are here ready to help clear your path in whatever way we can. Keep in touch. Our next student is Nico. Well, Nick's actually Nick Zuniga. Mr. Adubato, please take Nick.
So it's usually pretty easy for most people to tell Nick apart from his two other triplets. The problem is that I couldn't remember which one was which. So when I started having them all in class, I decided to call them all by the same nickname, which was Zuzu. This way, they wouldn't know that I couldn't tell them apart. By the end of my first semester teaching them, I could tell them apart and also got to learn a little more about each of their unique personalities. That being said, Nick, I know how important your relationships with your brothers and with your whole family is. You guys have a unity that is rooted in something greater than just being family. It's unity that comes from walking the same journey of faith together. I know you take that journey very seriously, and I always appreciated the sincere questions that you asked in our class discussions. So, Zuzu number 2, stay committed to your family, stay committed to walking, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings for you. Best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato. Next up, Chrisley. Mr. White.
Chrisley, you might be the only person I've taught thus far who has tied Adebayo in asking me questions about everything. You're a great young man, a fantastic young man, and your inquisitiveness has saved you more than you know. It saved you more than you know. Your willingness to ask questions, even when things are hard for you, is going to make you extremely successful at Cornell University next year. I know Miss Torto is incredibly proud to see you follow in her footsteps at her alma mater. And I know that we're incredibly proud to see you transition to that university and represent us well. Whenever you're down and out and you're, in DiffEQ or some upper level science class, and you're wondering why you're making yourself suffer through this, remember all the days in Miss Torto's office. Remember all the days in room 3. Remember all the days when you were trying to figure out a technical skill on the water, and we just had to do it over and over and over and over and over again until you figured it out, because you will. You're incredibly funny, and that's going to draw people to you. Don't ever think that that's a negative. It's absolutely one of your best traits. I'm going to miss being forced to listen to Katy Perry or Miley Cyrus while you're erging, and I'm sure Coach Stafford will as well. The levity you bring to the people around you is incredibly special, especially because of how damn smart you are, which could be intimidating, but you would never know because you never use it as a weapon against other people. We love you. We hope you do all the best next year in Ithaca, and we look forward to seeing you at Applefest.
Thanks, Mr. White. Zaba is next, and Mr. Delaney, you've got him.
Hey, Zaba. So Zaba is one of our many brave transfer students that comes to us from overseas. Zaba comes to us from Sweden. Zaba, when you first came here to us, wasn't the easiest transition for you. You actually didn't work out for you the first time around, and that's okay. I remember standing on stage in front of you and all the other transfer students, and I told all of you that this place isn't for everybody. And if you recognize that, that's okay. No hard feelings. And sometimes it takes courage to recognize when a situation doesn't work out, right? And you ended up leaving, and I don't think anyone thought that you quit, but you left. It wasn't working out. But as much courage as it takes sometimes to leave, I think it takes even more courage to come back. And you did. And I'm really glad you did, because when you came back, I saw a transformed Zaba. I think you returned to us with much more of an open heart the first time you did, the first time you came around. You're more mature, you're much more disciplined, just overall more willing to buy in to the whole process of Benedict's. And this reflected both on and off the court. I had the privilege of watching you play this past season. The team had one of its most successful years it's had in a long time, and you were an integral part of that. I saw the dedication you put to the team and to your teammates. I also saw how the dedication took its toll in the classroom. I know that because many times I had to wake you up in class. But the funny thing about almost every time I woke you up is when you did wake up, you ended up giving me a really, really brilliant answer, which you weren't really awake to hear. And then that really always shocked me and the kids in class, right? You have a natural talent, not only for basketball, you have a natural talent academically. I know when you leave us, and you go to the University of New Mexico, you're going to find that balance. Good luck next year. Keep in touch, buddy.
Thanks, Mr. Delaney. Our third student from Father Bernard is Christian, and I'm going to ask Mr. Adubato to speak about Christian.
So I first met Christian, also known as Big Berm, during community service several years ago. He seemed like a nice kid who was normal enough, but he didn't reveal his true colors until he was in my actual classroom. On top of being weird and annoying, he set the record for point pinching in senior class. I definitely lost track of how many times you asked to see your grade and found some mistake that I made to argue over. But in all seriousness, Christian, I'm amazed by how much you're willing to improve and to push yourself to succeed in senior religion. That drive can take you far in the future. But I also want you to challenge yourself to look further beyond the ideal of success. Christian, don't lose sight of your heart. Don't underestimate your kindness and sensitivity. I think the more you get in touch with who you are on a deeper level, your gifts are going to flourish, and you're going to be able to share those gifts with others. Best of luck to you in the future.
Thanks, Mr. Adubato. Toby is next, and no one else could introduce Toby but Mr. White.
Toby, I'm going to be incredibly honest tonight. So make sure you're sitting down and that you're prepared to hear what I have to say. I'm incredibly grateful that this is going to be recorded so that you can come back to this when you need it. 1, you have the kindest heart of any human being I've ever met. You also have had to deal with an incredible amount of suffering during your time here at St. Benedict's. For the most part, you've done an excellent job of keeping that in stride. I'm incredibly grateful and happy that you managed to establish a relationship with Mr. Rodriguez and learn from his wisdom the same way that I did. Be very careful about allowing other people to dictate what's best for you. I know how much you value companionship. I know how dangerous and how hurt you feel in the presence of loss. But you should never be afraid. You should never be afraid to put yourself first and to love you. That is not a sin. That is not a bad thing. Okay? You deserve to be loved because you're a great kid. You always have been, and you always will be. So make sure that as you are taking this gap year and you're contemplating what to do with your life moving forward, to remember that you deserve the best. Your mother would have wanted it for you. Your father would have wanted it for you because you deserve it. We're incredibly grateful to the joy and the happiness that you brought to our group, to the team, to room 3, to the 520 room. We're gonna really struggle when we miss you. There are a lot of things around that remind us of you. So do not be a stranger. I know I'm a hypocrite when I say it, because I know when you fall off the face of the planet, you probably got that from me. So I assume full responsibility for that. But you have our phone numbers. You know where we are. Stay close. Whenever you need something, we're here. All the best to you, Toby, and we love you.
Thanks, Mr. White. Naeem is next, and Ms. Tordo, you're up.
Naeem is an official member of the so-named Student Tordo Alliance, spending lots of his non-drama guild time in our shared office space with the motley crew that has assembled there. In fact, it's usually the first place that Miss Flynn comes down to look for him when he isn't up in the theater when he's supposed to be there during rehearsal. Naeem is a master of truth bombs and calls things like he sees them, but is always willing to engage others in conversation and debate and listen to what they have to say, even if he vehemently disagrees with it. I love just hanging out with Naeem, talking about everything from his lessons to me on K-pop, to the nonsense that's going down in the caf, to life in general, because he makes me remember how important it is to share the little things in life with each other, as well as the big things. Naeem, I think you are gold. When you develop and share your talents like you did with the Drama Guild, or like how you care for your great-grandfather, you're brilliant. We've talked a lot this year about how you want to improve and the things you've been doing to get there. Believe in the inherent value of what you have to offer and work accordingly. I believe in you. Good luck at Caldwell next year, and I will miss you.
Thanks, Ms. Tordo. Mr. White, we're coming back to you to talk about Julian.
Julian, I explicitly remember the day when I opened RenWeb and almost had a heart attack. I can admit that the day that we drafted you, I did like 20 backflips because we managed to get you into our group. I said to myself, this is one of the most consistent kids I've ever met. It doesn't matter what happens. He's going to be a rock star. He's going to be here every day. His grades are going to be great. He's funny to be around. You know, Gallerani smiles when he sees you. Gallerani smiles when he sees you. Like, come on. You know, keeper, solid keeper. And it hurt this year. You know, life finally found its way to make things difficult. I am incredibly glad that you had the capacity to reach out and ask for help when you were in a tough way, and to just see you automatically move from being perfect to going into a funk and then recovering should be an indication to you that you don't have to do it by yourself all the time. You don't have to. I know that you are carrying the burden of the good son. with your family, and I know you love them dearly, but don't lose hope for yourself. And don't ever think that your responsibilities at home mean you have to compromise who you are as an individual and the great things that you work to accomplish. You can figure out how to do both. If all it means is you have to ask for help, just ask for help. Okay? Don't ever be afraid to extend your hand if you need to find a better way, because you are a great kid, you're a great student, you're a great friend, and we're going to miss having you around. Okay? I wish you all the best as you're deciding between Caldwell and Stockton University for next year. I hope that you aren't a stranger and you come back to visit us in room 3.
Thanks, Mr. White. Mr. Delaney, your first guy from Frank Hill, Ari.
Hey, Ari. Teaching you this year has it's truly been a blessing to me. Seeing how your mind works and what it's capable of it's inspiring. In many ways, you're far ahead of me intellectually compared when I was your age, probably maybe even right now. I always appreciated our discussions in class. I knew when you raised your hand that something great was going to come out of your head, and that I really had to step up my game and answer whatever question it was you had. You'd always ask me, Mr. Delaney, do you consider this or do you consider that? And most of the times I didn't. So I think it's great when a student learns from a teacher. I think it's even greater when a teacher learns from a student, right? And that's what you did for me. I'll miss our philosophical conversations in group. I can't wait to see what you do athletically and academically. I wish I got to see you play soccer more. But honestly, the games I watched, there really wasn't much for you to do in goal. So I guess I never really saw your potential in net. I know you're going to do great things between the posts. You're going to do even greater things between the pages. Please keep in touch. I would love to continue our conversations in the future. And good luck next year in your PG year at Combine Academy. They're lucky to have you.
Thanks, Mr. Delaney. I've got the next guy myself, Rodney. Rodney, honestly, the first few months that I knew you, I thought you had a chip on your shoulder. You didn't talk much. You gave one-word answers to everything and didn't seem engaged. But I was wrong. I started realizing that when one day you, Kevin, and Jonathan and other representatives of the Benedict News came to an alumni board meeting to ask for a grant. And there you were, actually speaking. And not just speaking, but speaking as eloquently and passionately as two of the academic pace setters in the class. And then I started to notice your leadership as a group leader of Frank Hill. As a former faculty moderator of Frank Hill and a good friend of Mr. Delaney's, I can say that Frank Hill is thinking it up this year, but it has nothing to do with you. I see you racing upstairs every day to check on who's at the front desk, who's late, who's not. And Mr. Delaney himself told me that you've done an awesome job this year, that you're always present and on top of your guys. And finally, as you and I worked more closely together on your college application process and your college selection, I came to see how serious you are, how organized and methodical you were about that process. And you opened up a good bit also. So my advice to you, Rodney, is to open up to your professors and administrators in college sooner than you did with me, at least. Don't let your quiet exterior lead them, like me, to initially think that you're aloof and disconnected. Connections with professors and administrators in college can open untold doors for you. So proactively engage those people so that they get to know the real Rodney right off the bat. Rodney who's passionate, involved, caring, articulate, and bright. And all that I've seen also makes me think that you have another academic year to kick things into, Rodney. Right, you started off at Benedict's not so strong, or actually you've been sort of a decent student, but I think from what I've seen, I think you can do more than that. So when you get to Stockton, immediately go into high gear, both academically and in terms of the relationships that you build. All right, go out and conquer, Rodney. Our next guy is Eduardo, Mr. Duffy.
Eduardo, it's appropriate that I speak about you right after Mr. Jean-Baptiste was speaking about connections. Eduardo and I, like many others you've heard tonight, connected back in the lower division when I had him in 8th grade. And then academically, we connected again this current semester in medieval history. I'm still trying to determine whether you participated in class more as an 8th grader or as a senior. And I think that goes back to that theme of connections. It's not always easy for you to connect with somebody else, which is why I was thrilled when you found a niche in the fencing room. But unfortunately, I know Mr. Molina and Mr. McFarland were upset that you did not fence this year, as was I. It's been a bit of a struggle, and you're not always willing to reach out. So you got to loosen up a little bit and reach out to those that are there for you. I know your dad's always there, but work hard, find your niche next year at Hudson County Community, and let me know how things are going. Good luck.
Thanks, Mr. Duffy. Mr. Delaney, can we come back to you for comments on Emmanuel?
Absolutely. Hey, Manny, my fellow Frank Hill friend. I think to me, you might be one of the most easygoing, fun-loving, likable kids in this class. And we only had you for a year. I wish we had you for longer. I remember you came to us in the middle of summer phase. So you jumped into the middle of transfer orientation. So in a sense, you were the new kid amongst a group of new kids, right? And that can be hard. This group was together for 3 weeks. They were bonding. They were getting to know each other, right? But your first day, it seemed like you were with them the entire time, right? You jumped right into activities with them. You were outgoing. You were willing to make friends. You were respectful. You were willing to learn the traditions of the school. Once fall term started, you took that mentality and you became involved as a basketball manager, a very dedicated one. And I've spoke to many people regarding the basketball team and their success, and all of them say that it started with the dedication of the managers. So you were a big part of their success this year, right? I don't think that's easy to do for a senior transfer into Benedict's to make that big of a mark. So well done. You have a character that people like and it draws respect. Like I said, I wish we had you for all 4 years. I know your plans next year are undecided, but good luck. And remember, you always have a home here, so come back and visit.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. I've got the next student, Urijah, is actually the last student. Urijah, you're probably not used to ever being last, but you are slow. I have to say that. I was one day I was frustrated about where you were in your college process. It's like April, and I don't know where you're going to college, and you don't seem to be doing anything. So I asked Coach Anthony. I was like, Coach Anthony, what is going on with Urijah? He told me the only time Urijah moves fast is when he's on the track. So to me, Urijah, you are one smiling, gentle turtle. And I mean that in the nicest way. You get the job done, but in your own slow way that stresses everyone else out. I even heard your grandmother cursing you out on the phone in my office because you called her at the last minute for a ride home. But seriously, nice job, Urijah. You're a solid guy in the classroom, on the track, especially on the track. And I can tell that you're also a great friend to the guys on the track. Untold guys would come into the office with you laughing. So you're just the person who draws out the best in other people, and that's a good person to have at St. Benedict's. Keep being you, the slow guy, the fast guy, sincere, smiling, and hardworking. And you'll have great success at Louisiana Tech next year. All the best, Urijah. And again, with Urijah, we finish recognizing the seniors individually. And it's now time to announce the names of the seniors in the Grace section who are finalists for the Presidential Award. So Grace section, naturally, since I'm part of Grace section, has the most finalists. And we'll start with Anthony Augustin. Chrisley Alexis. Grace section's third finalist for the Presidential Award is David Rahaman. And last but not least from Grace section, Sergio Almeida. Congratulations to the four of you, and congratulations to all the seniors in Grace section. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And please join us tomorrow as we present our senior awards for excellence in leadership, character, and in different academic areas, including our Presidential Award. Thank you.